Well, let me say first off, thank you, obviously, for coming on the show and also for your amazing donation.
Yeah,
That
sure.
was
It was
that was
awesome.
incredible, and I loved that you had no idea that it was going to have Adam and I slapping each other and tortilla slapping each other and all of that. That makes it even better.
Yeah, I was like, what's going on?
What is happening? What have I brought myself into?
This is not what I signed up for.
Yeah, exactly. Then we're gonna have a nice, calm conversation about AI, 3D printing, and now I've been joined into this. But
I just
anyway,
assumed
yeah,
that's what you guys were doing the whole channel, is just
just
slapping each other around and
yeah, it's like a Johnny Knoxville,
yes,
reboot, where
exactly.
we're just hurting each other the whole time. Oh my god, I cannot handle that. I'm like 44 years old. I cannot be slapping myself for every week.
That's
Uh,
funny.
so thank you for coming on. It's amazing. I
Yeah,
know
thanks for having me.
yeah, we talked a little bit before this about just sort of like one, I just know the amazing work that you've done that is behind you,
Yeah,
and
thank
I'm
you.
sure more from the 3D printing. But then also been hearing more about like your familiarity and your how you work with AI, not only at your
Hmm.
job but in creative roles and all of that.
Yeah,
So I mean, I'm excited for this conversation.
sure. Yeah.
Well, and Mike, I just introduced myself.
Yeah,
Haven't
yeah, I
ever
guess
got
that's
to
true.
meet you. So I am Adam,
Yeah.
the co-host of the Hangout with Adam and Ryan. And so it's really awesome to have you on the show today. I've heard a lot about you. I've
Thanks.
talked about you a lot
Yeah.
since this time. And
Yeah.
so for everyone viewing today and everybody on the recordings, we're excited to introduce Mike Shipley to the show today. And we're going to spend the next hour with you just having a lot of great conversation about the things that you've been up to. And so
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
excited to
sounds
jump
good.
in.
Nice. Where do you want to start out, Mike? Where do you want to start this
Oh,
conversation?
oh man. I don't know. I mean, even when you were asking me, I was like, there's so many things we could talk about. I mean, we could talk about what's behind me a little bit if you
Yeah,
want,
I feel
since
like
it's
I
kind
feel
of
like
glaring, right?
the elephant in the room is behind you, and if we don't talk about
Yeah.
that off the bat,
Or the Beetlejuice in the
oh
room.
my god, amazing.
Yeah, so that one there I just made for the theater. They have a scarecrow competition in um, Pendleton, and I was like, oh, can I do it this year? Like, I really want to. I'm always looking for some excuse to 3D print something. So I wanted to try it out, and so that was pretty fun.
That's amazing. So it's like the head is all 3D printed, and then the hands, I assume.
Yeah, so the head and the hands. It actually the I printed shoes too, but they're in the car. And then yeah, I just our costumer made the rest of the stuff, and then I also 3D printed some connectors for the wood so I could get his arms a certain way and whatever. So
Nice. How much of that are you like modeling yourself? How much are you sort of grabbing things and then reshaping it? In I don't know. What do you use?
well, it yeah, so it really depends. There's I mean there's kind of a lot of starting points. Something that doesn't have to have a lot of moving parts, that's
Yeah.
just static like that. Um, First I'll see if somebody might already have something out there that they're sharing,
Right.
because that just saves some time or whatever. But as long as they've got licensing to do that. But now the big thing is, I mean, even just doing that stuff in AI,
Right.
like I'll take, uh, I mean, even just the 2D to 3D image AI tools. I mean, it's like I think every week that I go into those, they've improved them and they have got a new engine for it or something like that. So this one here, like this is all AI.
Really?
Um, yeah, so
Interesting.
basically I made the 2D image in Chat GPT and kind of got what I want it to look like. And then I brought it over into the 2D to 3D modeling, um, and then kind of iterated through that until I found one that I liked. And then I sliced the different parts off, brought it into Tinkercad and figured out kind of where I wanted things. So
That's amazing. So you mentioned the theater that you're doing this for.
hmm
Do you want to talk a little bit about that, or like when did you get involved in that? How did you get involved in making 3D props or and all sorts of things for the theater?
yeah, so I mean, I first started getting into theater when I moved out to South Carolina, and my oldest daughter really wanted to get into acting, and um, so she got into one of the theaters here that I'm on the board now, the Clemson Little Theater.
Right.
She got into Beauty and the Beast Junior,
Okay.
and
Yep.
one of the things that the director wanted to be able to do the Enchanted Rose with the falling petals.
Oh, okay.
And my wife was heavily involved in that show, and she's like, I think my husband could probably figure this out, right? And so, and that's one of those things I'm excited about. I'm like, I have no idea what I'm doing, but we'll just keep tinkering at something. So that was kind of my first, I made, and that wasn't 3D printed. That was just, I kept buying different things from the craft store and putting things together, and then using a Arduino board and servos, and I had one of the kids' old tablets that I made it so that it would, drop the pedals, and it was using magnets and all that kind of stuff. And I mean, and the thing is it when I tested it at home, it probably worked 50% of the time. So when we had it in shows, I was sweating the whole time. I was like, okay, are they going to drop this time? And fortunately, it worked out. But since then, I just started kind of getting into helping them out more. And eventually I looked to my wife and I'm like, I would like to try and get a 3D printer. Like we went to a friend's house, and they're like, most people that we know that have 3D printers, it's like, oh, their kid has one, and they're,
Sure.
they make little dice or something like that.
Yeah,
And so
yeah.
that I didn't know the capability. So he made us like a little articulated cat or whatever, and I was like, wow, that's amazing that you can do that on there. So then I got one, and then I started just, you know, pumping things through it and to see, what I could do.
Yeah,
This
like
was
some of
actually one
those
of
are
the
massive, like
yeah,
I feel like, gee, are you putting them together, or are
yes.
they able to print out that big?
Yeah, no, so this was one of the first things that I had built, which is Sven's
Nice,
head.
nice.
Love it.
My mom actually put all the like fur and stuff on it. Uh, out here we have one of those stores that are like Amazon returns, whatever. So you
Oh,
can,
sure.
it's called a MacBid. I don't know if you guys have those
I
out there,
no,
but
I don't think I've heard of that.
so you go on and you bid on these. It's like people returned rugs or whatever, and so I got these things for like a couple bucks, and then I was like, hey, let's make that into fur and stuff. Um, but yeah, I just started, the 3D printing software allows you to slice things and make connectors, and I was like, I don't know if this is going to work, but I'm just going to keep sending stuff to it and see what happens. And then I
So
started gluing it together, and I was like, oh my gosh,
it
this
works. It
works.
works amazing.
Yes.
So like, how many say like the Beetlejuice head? Like how many sections is that?
Yeah, so that one I have an additional bigger printer now. So there's actually two main sections on that one, and then there's little parts where the hair, it's like it just came off the build plate a little bit, so I had to slice that and glue that on. So there's probably, like I said, two main sections and maybe, five or six sections total.
Nice.
Can we take another look at that? Can you move the camera? It looks
Yeah.
Oh
awesome.
yeah. All
Look
right.
at
Here,
that.
let's see if I can bring him closer.
Yeah, this would be great.
Oh man.
How much does it weigh?
It's actually, it's not too bad. The biggest thing is that I've got like a big weight down here. It's like thing made out of wood that he's mounted to.
Oh
Okay,
sure. So it
gotcha.
doesn't fall over.
Yeah. But yeah, it's not bad. I mean, it's pretty hollow.
Well,
So
the nerd in me has some technical questions if you're
Sure.
up for
Yeah,
'em.
because
So,
Adam's actually our 3D printer here. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know if he's
Uh-huh.
going as high as this, but like he's been doing it for many, many years on this
Okay.
printer back here,
yeah, we
Yeah.
right there.
What kind is that?
this was it's a CR10 S is what it was.
Okay.
So it's a Creality. So we've been
Yeah.
in the market. I also
Yeah.
at where I work, we have a bunch of different printers out there. We have Bamboos and we have the bigger Crealities as well. And so I was curious, what kind of printers are you using?
Yeah.
So right now I have the first printer I got was the Bamboo X1C.
Mm.
So that was because all the research I did, and everyone's like, this is the most turnkey one. I'm like, well, let's start off not getting frustrated or
Right.
whatever.
Sure.
I like tinkering and stuff, but I was like, well, let's, I guess start that as a baseline. Then I have the A1.
Mm.
Then I have the Anycubic S1 Pro, which is the one that's kind of a Bamboo P1S clone or whatever. It's like equivalent. And then the other one I have is the Anycubic's Cobra 3 Max, and that's the one that's got like a 500 by 500 by 500
Ooh.
build volume. So,
What do you usually print with? What's the filament types?
um, I mean, yeah, I think it depends. I mean, I use a lot of PETG. Um,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I, it's kind of it depends on like with Beetlejuice, I use PETG because it's going to be outside and it'll handle the warmth better.
Sure.
Um, but some of the things that are, just going to be on stage and that sort of thing. I mean, the PLA tends to come out a little bit nicer. Um, One of the things I started doing too is using more TPU stuff. So you can see this one's all completely
Oh
flexible.
yeah. Amazing.
So,
Is that all one print?
Wow.
besides, except for the tongue,
Tongue.
and that's mainly because I didn't want to print all the supports that would have to do it.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. How do you attach it then? Glue it?
Yeah. Yep.
That's-
Just super glue.
Man, that's so cool. I didn't realize you could get rubbery style.
Oh yeah, and that's something I've been playing a lot with lately because, um, so like this here is made out of TPU and it's just a strap, but it's like I mean you can't break it, right? Like
Very
Nice,
durable.
nice.
so
It's like
so I've been playing around with that too.
it's like for putting up cords or something like that, like straps you can strap it down.
Yeah, well, one of the things too is even like one of the things I'm looking at is as we make like crowns, um, with the shape of people's heads are not
Right.
fully circles.
Yeah.
So
Right.
you kind of like having something, that you can kind of like strap inside or whatever, or I don't know, different things like that I'll play around more with. But
Yeah, and so I remember it's one of the ones that I saw, I can't remember, on some social media platform of yours was
yes,
the what was also for the Frozen one, and it was the snowman, obviously,
oh,
like
Olaf,
the Olaf one, and he had like
yes.
I remember there was like servos to do the talking mouth, and I remember it being like, wow, this, I feel like you were taking it to a whole new level at that point.
So
Yeah, I
yeah,
think
so that one,
didn't he get moved to a different state or something?
yes, someone bought him in a different state.
Nice.
Um, So that one, it was actually he was all mechanical. I was trying to see if I have a full mouth mechanism, but one of the things that took me a long time. Uh, so before I made Olaf, we had basically a large like stuffed animal of Olaf because we're like, okay, how do we,
Mm.
we're like, well, maybe we could make that into a puppet.
Oh,
And
sure.
I started trying to make a puppet mechanism, and I spent a long time on that. And this is kind of a piece from um, one of the things I've made, which is it's actually basically like a spring,
Oh, right.
and it has mouth plates that attach to it. Um, Maybe here's kind of an example of a small one. It's got
And it's that rubbery material, right? So that it can open and
no,
close.
this is all PET G.
That's all PET G. Okay, nice.
Yeah.
You need that rigidity
Um,
to make it so it can kind
Like
of move
snap
like that.
back. Or is
What's
it
that?
how is it doing that? It's like it's meshing across something, or is it like bending it?
So it's because it's got these thin circular
I see.
pieces here that it gives it enough resistance where it doesn't break,
Yeah.
but it still goes back.
Nice.
So that took a while of experimenting because I made so many that it would just snap.
Yeah.
And one of the things that gave me this idea too is I started seeing some of the things that other people were making where they were making like spring loaded like clips.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, that's all 3D printed. And I'd print those out and I was kind of looking at them, see how they work. And I'm like, huh, I didn't realize that you could keep that much resistance on there, have it come back without it breaking. So I
So,
incorporated that idea with some YouTube videos I saw, and
is 3D printing in sort of the theater space? Is that a common thing?
um, I would say around here, like community theaters, it's not.
Yeah.
Um, I was watching a video of a theater that's got one of these big industrial 3D printers, and they actually like 3D printed a whole like prop car.
Oh man.
I mean, this thing was like huge that they printed for their stage, but that was, I mean, those things are probably 10 grand or something or
Right.
more.
I,
Um,
just
yeah.
because it feels like one of those things where this feels like the perfect place for 3D printing, because you're like, you
Oh,
need physical
absolutely.
things, you need it very custom, you need to be
Yes.
able to like manipulate it and do it for a certain type of person, you know, like this
Right.
person has the thing, they're this tall or they have this big a
Yes.
head or whatever. It feels like it, like a perfect
Yes.
match.
Right. Well, and that's the other thing too, is that, they have, because theater is so seasonal,
Right.
and it's like, okay, there's I mean, in a good example is like, so Beetlejuice Junior had just come out to be licensed, within the last 6 months. And so all of a sudden it's like the script calls for all these different things,
Right.
and you go, I mean, it's kind of ridiculous some of the things that these scripts call for. You're like, how am I even supposed to do this? Like the writers just kind of like imagine something and are like, hey, good luck. Let's see what this turns out to
Just
be.
like throw it over the fence and let them
Yes.
figure it out in your little community, theater.
Oh, yes, very, very much so. But yeah, so then it's kind of cool to, it's like, okay, let's, if there isn't something out there yet, let me design something and see what, the community thinks. And with, with the 3D printing side, because I mean, the thing I like about it the most is the fact that you can just create it over and over and over again,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
So big thing about theater is you got a lot of people that, a lot of creative people that make cool things, and then it's like, well, you've captured it once, it slowly deteriorates over time, it sits
Yeah.
in a prop room, and it's
Yeah.
like, oh, you don't get to, keep utilizing that over and over again.
Yeah, like in, I imagine in Hollywood they like have a whole thing and they keep it in the prop section and it's in this nice, contained thing, and you're like, well, now, it goes in the shed until the
Yes.
next time.
They probably have a couple backups or something of those
Yeah.
things, but I'm curious on your process a little bit. On you
Hmm.
mentioned like 3D, getting 3D models, AI a little bit involved in the
Hmm.
process. Like, do you use modeling softwares and things like that, or
Yeah,
do
I
you
heard
manipulate that?
Tinkercad. I heard Tinkercad, which is our favorite.
Fusion
Yeah.
360.
So I would say, I haven't really used uh, Fusion 360 much yet. I think I think for me it's kind of been trying to figure out which one I want to dive really deep in.
Right.
Um, I've got so like I started using Mesh Mixer actually a lot, especially
Mm,
for splitting out colors.
Yeah.
Um, because one of the biggest problems with multicolor prints now is how slow they are and how much waste there is.
Mm,
Um, and so one of the challenges is being able to take something that's multicolored and say, like, instead of painting Beetlejuice, if I could just say, I want to take the eye out, I want to print it yellow and then glue it back in, it would look better and it would be so much faster. Um,
right.
so Mesh Mixer actually helps do that kind of stuff, and I'm still learning how to do that in there. I use Blender a little bit. I'm, I've done that to maybe make models look a little better, or even just convert models from one format to the next, um, or that sort of thing. I've also bought Kickstarter. There was someone who's made some really decent software to help split models a lot better, and the connectors work a lot better. So I'll be playing with that a little bit more too. But I like the simplicity of Tinkercad. I feel like I can get in there
Yeah.
and um, I some things sometimes feel very hacky, where it's like, okay, in order to get a
mm-hmm.
shape, I have to uh,
Right.
I what's that video game where you like snapped the different people? You guys know what I'm talking about?
I'm trying. I'm
Where it
trying
has
to.
like puzzles and you're like you have two different people and you go on top of each other and you like snap it.
Dang it!
I don't remember what it's called.
Oh no, no, I don't know.
Can't remember.
That's gonna bug me now. But anyways, it's kind of that's what I feel like where it's like I have to be very creative about doing all these negative things and then all of a sudden I get something that I want. But it
So
works.
so these ones are painted right behind you. They're sort of like that. It's not multiple colors of 3D. You know.
Right. Yep, all of those ones are painted. Um, I've got a little like this toothless, for example.
Nice.
I used a multicolor on him for his eyes, and then he's got the little
Oh
thing
yeah,
on the back of
cute.
the tail.
Nice.
Um, but this wasn't my design. It's
Sure. I I I always felt like all those new printers, like, don't they probably take up a bunch of electricity? Can you even have them going like more than one at a time, or is it like blowing out the breakers in your in your garage or
so
wherever that
interesting
is?
that you say that. How did you know? Okay, so yeah, I used to have them in here, and I so a couple things would happen. One is everyone in the house knew when I was 3D printing because the lights would start doing this,
Really?
right?
Oh yeah.
So
Man.
I felt like a mad scientist or something, right? It's like, oh, the 3D printers are going, the lights are dimming, and um, but and then the other thing too is once I got up to three, I couldn't run all three of them at the same time.
Yeah.
Which I'm like, well, then what's the point? Like, uh, so what I actually did is I moved them to my garage and built a shelf for them, and um, I had an electrician friend put four dedicated 20 amp circuits in there.
Nice.
There
Yep.
you go.
So now I'm like, and now I just run, whenever I run them all the time, it's a surreal feeling.
Yeah, that's amazing. You just like shut the door and let the noise happen and
There's
Yes.
did they have noise at this point?
yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, they're not too bad.
Yeah.
Okay, but when our first printer, when I first got it, I actually had it in our bedroom, which was a mistake.
Right.
Uh, Multiple reasons that every time I'd wake up, I'd like 1 in the morning, I'd go and like, okay, what's it doing now? And then but yeah, the noise and I don't know. There's lots of debates about the fumes and stuff too. So I was like, yeah, this probably isn't great.
Sure. Like in there while you're sleeping,
Yes,
putting it
exactly.
out.
Yep.
Nice. So is there any other types of 3D printers that you would be interested in? I don't know. I know that there's like different ones that do it in different ways or molding and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. I actually, so there is one I got on Kickstarter that I'm waiting for it to ship. I don't know if you guys have heard of it's like the Snapmaker U1.
Hmm.
No.
So this one is hold on, Snapmaker. Yes. So the Snapmaker U1 is actually, um, I don't know if you've seen, like Prusa has the ones where they've got the multiple heads that can switch. So
Mm-hmm.
this
Right.
one is basically like that, but it's like, half the price or
Hmm.
less.
Nice.
So what's really cool about that is that then you can do the multicolor and it's switching between them without having to change out the filament and have all the waste.
Yeah.
And one of the big things with that too is so like that soft stuff, the TPU, you like there's really no real way to do multicolor with that right now because they don't fit in the color feeders that can switch between them. You always have to put them on the side and kind of manually feed them because it's so soft that it can't go through all those other gears. So
Yeah.
with this other printer, it actually allows you to do multi-materials together. So it's really interesting. So they'll have someone 3D printing like a car and they're embedding those soft wheels into the car while doing the different materials for the headlights and all that kind of stuff. And then it comes out in one solid print and there's no waste.
Wow.
So that
It's like
that thing is like
one solid piece of car, like from the
y-
lights to the head, the hood above it.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah. And it's a lot faster. I mean, those again, once you do multicolor, it takes so long because it's having to do four colors on every little layer. And I hate it.
Do you
So,
have a new, is there a new project coming up? Like what's the next play at the theater that you have something
um,
to do?
yeah. So, I mean, right now, the I am helping produce Miracle Worker, which is the Helen Keller story.
Cool.
There isn't really any kind of 3D printing
Not,
needs for that.
not as many
Um,
sandworms, that you need to
yes,
model for the Helen Keller show.
yes, exactly. And then the our Christmas show is coming up too, which is It's a Wonderful Life, and that the same thing like that. I might do something for kind of our merchandise area,
Okay.
Christmassy stuff there. Um, Let me think. But probably our next youth show, which is Enchanted Bookshop, they're going to have a lot of different. That's one where like book stories come to life, and so you have a lot of different characters like pirates and that sort of thing. So, um, hopefully maybe make some fun swords or
Yeah, exactly.
that sort of thing. So
Hooks for hands,
yes,
peg
yeah,
legs.
yeah,
So I
yeah.
heard you talking about AI. Sorry, did you have a question,
No,
Adam?
go
Oh,
for it.
no, okay. So I heard you when you were talking about AI. We had done that a little bit, taking like 2D
Hmm.
images and then making them into 3D images, and then being like,
Yeah,
great, now we're going to try to 3D print that. Maybe it's just we haven't tried it in the last 6 months or something, but I feel like it was pretty garbagey last time. We were getting stuff off of, Hugging Face and trying it there
mm,
and everything, and it would just get all jaggedy around the edge, and you'd really have to go in and try to smooth it out and clean it up. Has that stuff gotten any better? I mean, I feel like that Beetlejuice one, like how much cleanup did that take afterwards? Or
like none. I
dang,
mean, it's
that's
so
awesome.
honestly like so a big thing is so Bamboo's Maker World. They have Maker Labs. They have a 2D to 3D creator there, and within the last, I mean, man, probably in the last 2 months, they've upgraded those. They've got actually two engines that you can try back and forth, and both of them are actually pretty good. Um, and so those I use those quite a bit to do that, and it's um, yeah, I've been pretty impressed with that.
Gosh, I can't believe that wouldn't be like the future of 3D printing, right? Like not having to model everything, but only being like take a drawing, turn it into, something 2D, and then being able to turn
Yeah.
that from 2D into 3D. It seems, I don't know, like that. I went to school for computer animation, and so I did a bunch of 3D modeling, and I don't know, it feels like they could totally get eaten up by that.
Yeah, and I mean, I think right now the ideal thing is I mean, the starting point, right? Like to be able to, not being someone who is proficient in 3D modeling, I'm still kind of stuck with the outputs that I get.
Sure.
Um, Ideally, if I was someone who 3D modeled, I'd be like, okay, I'm going to jump on this so that way, for me to actually get to this point before, would have taken however long, and now I can just start
Right.
start here and make it what I want. But
Yeah.
Yeah, that's.
um,
I was gonna say that was one thing you had mentioned before. You were using a Blender, or when we talk Fusion 360. Fusion 360 is like very much more like CAD parts and
yeah,
drafting, whereas
Right.
I think Blender has that more organic kind of feel to it. And I hear that's where you can
sure,
do a lot of that
Like more
additional
more like the
work.
stuff that feels like behind you, right? Than
yeah,
pieces for your stove.
right, yeah. And there's one on the iPad that's really popular, and I can't remember what it's called. Um, but whenever I look on forums and stuff for what people use, there's a particular iPad app that everyone likes, which would also be, I mean, pretty handy too, obviously, to have that kind of interface for it versus mouse and keyboard. But
Is it
Yeah.
Nomad Sculpt by chance?
yes, that is it. Nomad, yeah.
Nice. So so we talked about AI doing this for this. Like, do you you know, you were saying you use AI in other parts of your life too, right? Like
Right.
your job and other, you know, creative things that you're doing and all of that kind of
Yeah.
stuff. Like,
Yeah.
you know, we talk a lot about AI at our jobs. Like, I feel like we use it a ton.
Right.
I'm always interested in, because like I'm not a software engineer. I'm more like a designer, sort
Right.
of, and all of that. So I feel like I use sort of the visual side of it, and you know, the writing and marketing side of it. You know, Adam's in leadership development, or you know, in
Mhm.
education, and so he uses
Yeah.
it lots in writing stuff. So how have you been using it in software architecture?
Yeah. Um, yeah. So it's, I mean, probably over the last year, I've slowly tried to figure out how to integrate it into what I'm doing in software development. And then within the last month, um, I pretty much use it exclusively. Like I try actually not to code, but I try to have everything go through the AI tools.
Right.
And there's a couple reasons for that. One is um, because of where the market is at. I feel like that kind of will keep me where they want people. If
Sure.
that makes sense.
Yep,
Yeah, for
Um,
sure.
totally. We all have to think about that in this age of
yes,
AI.
right. And it does speed up a lot of things. I mean, one of the things that I've gotten really into AI agents, where um, I'm setting up basically like an environment where I've got all of these individual uh, compartmentalized AI experts, and then I orchestrate through them and say, okay, here's what I'm trying to solve, and I have them all tied into all the workflows that we use. So all of our like project management, our source control, and everything, like they essentially have access to all that. So now I'll go into meeting, we'll have a discussion, I'll put notes into it and have it start building out what this should look like. Then
Right.
I have everyone look at it, and then I go into these agents and say, okay, now I want you to look at what our design is, and I want you to figure out and come up with a game plan. And it basically spreads it out to all the AI experts, and they kind of talk to each other, right? Where they say, well, from an architecture standpoint, this is great. Well, from a usability standpoint, and and then things come out of that, and then I actually have it start doing the coding and checking it in, and I'll have it build tests first, and I'll kind of verify like, okay, here's a test that doesn't work because this function isn't here yet, and then I'll have it build the software until that test works, and then it just kind of moves on. And so I'll have it do a lot of looping of like, finally getting that fixed, and then eventually it's done with that project. So
Go ahead.
I know I'm
Yeah,
curious
yeah.
of the kind of the software you're developing, or what. Tell me a little bit more about that. That's really interesting to me because we've been using it a lot lately. Is there specific models you're using
Right.
for that,
You
or
using Claude or something, or
yeah, I'm using Claude Code, and
yeah.
my work pays for like the max,
Nice.
whatever. And so and then yeah, I mean they keep coming out with new features, and I have to kind of go, okay, how is this? I mean, honestly, it's the area that I really feel like uh, is probably most important for me to keep up with, because all that other information, is going to be funneled through that anyway. And so there's a lot of things where it's like, okay, I don't need to necessarily be an expert in all of these um, technologies anymore. So, and again, getting it to a point where I can do more things in parallel, um, where I can have multiple things going at the same time. Just trying to automate a lot of things. You know, Kind of where I've been with that too. So,
how do you build those agents? Is there some methodologies that you have in play that you think about as they get built out? So you mentioned it had a bunch of the different agents. They all orchestrate through
mhm.
like, is there a main one that you send that through and then it goes and talks to everyone, or how does it know how to pull the right one forward?
Yeah, so I mean, the interesting thing, what I actually started doing is having AI build itself up. So
Hmm.
Yeah.
early on, I had it point at its own like configuration, and I said, "Hey, I want you to configure yourself to do this," and then it started creating agents to do that. Um,
Cool.
And then I take those out and I say, okay, now that you're smarter, now I'm going to do that again.
Right.
Now use agents to figure out the best way to, and so kind of having that loop going too, where it kind of is building up something that's useful, and then it's at some point then I can just go, okay, now I'm ready and I'm off to the races.
It,
Um,
when the agents are talking to each other, like Adam did a thing. We did an episode like maybe a month or two back where we were kind of like, hey, if we came up with an AI business, like what would it be? Let's pitch our AI business, that we came up with for a week.
mhm.
And Adam did a little bit where he was like, he brought up a whole team, right? And it was a bunch of people, and some of them were marketers, and some of them were
Mhm.
product creation and all of that. And so he sort of had like little agents talking to each other.
Yeah.
And so when you're doing that, is it a physically like a transcript that you can read of them going back and forth with each other? Or is it more like you're sort of giving them things and you know that they're talking and doing stuff and you're mostly seeing the output?
There's a little bit of both.
Yeah.
So typically there's a thing in there called tasks, which whenever it does that, it's usually sending things out to it's doing multiple things at the same time, simultaneously, and then it's kind of bringing that stuff together. So, and that agents can sit on top of that. So essentially the orchestrator that sits at the very high level is kind of saying, okay, I'm sending this out to everyone, and I can see where it says, okay, I'm sending this to the expert in this field. I'm sending this to the expert in this field. I'm sending this to the expert, and then I can see the outputs that are coming from that, and then it will sometimes reconcile some of those things and then send it back out to those different ones. And you can see some of the transcripts from that, and sometimes it will do those things in order too, right? Which is, here's some very low level things that we need to figure out, and then eventually I'm going to bring it into something that's an expert at a higher level that can reconcile. So it all looks pretty complicated, and I just kind of sit there and I'm like, wow, I mean, this looks cool. Let's see what happens.
That's where I feel like we're at with some of that. Is just you're experimenting, right? I mean, it's all
Yeah.
experimenting at this point too.
I'm curious, as you describe that, do you feel like this is going to really start changing people's ability to have jobs and stuff? You said you're really focused on this right now. I mean, are we starting to see others and like peers in your field that are not adopting this, that are like
Right.
getting replaced, or it's becoming kind of a challenge? I'm just curious to think on that level around, what you see the future of this looking like.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true.
So, I think it's definitely, culturally jarring.
Sure.
I think the job thing, I guess my opinion on that is that there's, I mean, we always take steps that, make jobs not necessary.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a type of person that, uh, it's like I will always figure something else out that is contributing to society. If society doesn't need it anymore, I personally don't like the idea of having a job just to have a job. That's just
Sure.
I want people to be taken care of, right? But to, I think when people look at jobs as just kind of a number, it's like, hey, are there jobs? It's like, well, everyone has the ability to be an entrepreneur, right? That's not something you see statistically, like how many entrepreneur positions are there available?
Right.
Yeah.
And that's a big thing. The American dream is that you can come here and you can start your own job and you can pretty much do whatever you want, right? And one of the things that I noticed about almost everybody is everyone has ideas,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
I always say, and actually, to the point where I get kind of annoyed because I think ideas are cheap.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
Ideas are so easy.
Right.
And honestly, like, I really think that if more people were encouraged to take their ideas and go all the way with it,
Yeah.
that our society would actually be, there would be a lot of innovation. There would be a lot of things that would improve. So I don't know. It's kind of I have kind of a baseline philosophy there that, like, look, I don't want a job if it's not useful.
Yeah.
I really appreciate
Because yeah. Go ahead.
I was gonna say I appreciate that perspective, and I think that I absolutely agree with that. You don't want people just
Yeah.
to be kind of droning through it, and if there's something that replaces, I sometimes get worried about the speed of it as well, and like how it aligns with our ability to just make sure we're feeding our families and moving forward in this
Right.
society in that perspective. And a lot of people that are not pivoting right now, I think, are going to be more of the ones that are at risk. And like folks like yourself are just pivoting at this stage and saying, okay, well, here's something new. I'm gonna work on this, and I'm gonna continue adding value to society. And I think that those are some really interesting insights
Well,
there.
and even too, like that happened when computers came around and the internet came around. Like people were just like,
Industrial revolution was huge.
Right, exactly. Like you're always going to leave some people behind
Yeah.
who don't. They're too old. They're too stuck in their ways, or they just don't want to do it anymore. And so they retire, they get out of the stuff, and they leave it to other people. But yeah, I think like Adam was saying, like it moves so fast. You're like, oh man, how many people are we leaving behind because you were 6 months behind, right? You're like,
Right.
oh man, I was 6 months behind and didn't think this AI thing, and now I'm like almost out of a job practically because everything is AI now.
and here's the thing too, is I think again, it's just you get into my own
Sure.
philosophies on things,
Go for
whatever.
it.
But
Yeah.
I really think the area that needs to change the most is education, because
Right.
education is so pigeonholes people, right? It's very much a like, here's your recipe for, you want to do this career, here's all this investment you have to make, and then this is where you're supposed to be.
Yeah.
And the reality is that if you're going to live in a society that's innovative and changing, the baseline skill set that you need to have is not being afraid of learning out in the real world, and constantly going and looking at, can I do this? Can I take on something that I don't know at all?
Yeah.
Instead of going, oh man, like some people will say, I went to college for this many years for this, man, now I'm going to have to go back to college. And I'm like, no, you don't. Like, honestly, colleges have to adapt. They have to get that information, build classes, get teachers. I mean, and at some point it's never going to be as fast as
Right.
the way things are changing. So I feel like there's a huge like foundational piece there that, even as my kids are growing up and they're talking about college, and it's like, okay, well, what's my dream job? What's my, and they go through this whole recipe. I'm just like, man, it just doesn't feel like that is setting them up for success, in my opinion.
It's so hard to set kids up for success nowadays. You're like, it's so up in the air, like everything.
Right.
You're like, I guess you should get a degree in critical thinking and
Right.
how like, I guess, I don't know, like it seems
Yeah.
like putting them in one way is just, that could be completely different in 2 years.
Well, and I think that currently, like with the onset of how much AI has moved things, is I always believe college and working at a university for 17 years, it's about building learners, not necessarily building someone for those careers.
Right.
So that critical thinking, problem solving, and you have a discipline that you learn in, but typically colleges and things kind of lag a little bit behind industry anyway.
Yeah.
And you get exposure to some of these things. And, one thing I always kind of thought is, as we start to use AI, if you knew nothing about engineering and you tried to use AI and you know something about it, you might use it a little bit better. And then you learn on top of it, and you can kind of take it a little bit further. And, recently I was talking to Ryan, and I had done a lot of front end web development. That's what my job was years ago. And so I could get the UI, UX, and do a little bit of the interactions, but I always hire someone out for back end and on that work. So I always get 50% of the way. And then I took Claude and I upgraded a max for a month, and I took it to like 100% on a project that I was like, I would have never been able to do that. And it really blew my mind. The only thing I was worried about is I felt it went so far that I don't know how to go back and like fix it or update it or QA it or do some of those pieces, because I didn't have enough of my foundational knowledge. And I don't know if that's important actually, because maybe an agent can be developed to do that. But where do you like have a line of trust that it's like what it's done is going to work and maintain that that value that you created from it.
Yeah. Well, the interesting thing too is like, I mean, we deal with the same thing with having employees, right? You start up a company and you're like, okay, but the difference is that that humans can have different motives for doing different things or whatever. But I mean, it's kind of interesting because like even some of my colleagues, as we're doing stuff in AI, and they're like, "Oh, AI didn't do this perfectly," and I'm like, neither did you. You know,
Yeah.
like, I mean, you know, you kind of go, your expectation is like, it's like, yeah, but I mean, I create software bugs all the time. And there's times where we spend hours trying to figure out where tracking stuff down and that sort of thing. And so the first thing for, I think for us is kind of getting over that hump that it's like, it's okay that AI is not going to be perfect.
Right.
But then also, yeah, finding that balance of like, well, um, like I feel like where I found a sweet spot is doing things very incrementally instead of saying, you know, hey, build, you know, the Taj Mahal or whatever. It's like let's let's first talk about how you're going to build it. Let me look at that and let me see if that makes sense to me. And then let's start at a room and let's start at the wall. Like I can kind of go through piece by piece and watch what it's doing. And it kind of keeps it in line, and I understand it enough that I don't have to be looking at the lines of code, but I understand where things are. And you know, the other thing too, as a developer, I should be doing test-driven development anyway. I should be building all these tests that are verifying that what I'm doing is right and this is what the customer wants. This is, you know, everything else. And so, but a lot of times that I've found in the industry that people are it's just that just like doubles or triples the work
Right.
building all of that stuff in. And so, you know, when reality hits and, you know, a boss says, hey, we need this built in a month,
Yeah.
you go, I know I can meet that deadline if I kind of, you know, cut these corners here. And since we're not sending that part out, let's just not do it. But
Yeah.
now I can do all that, which it kind of is best of both worlds, because now I'm kind of keeping track of what AI is doing, but I'm also building what I think is better quality software. So
Do you think that those that don't have those same values as you are going to flood the market with some really bad stuff that really waters that down? Because I can see that you have a good passion at doing it a way that has those standards and bright processes, and so somebody else might go there and prompt something that has that front value to it and it works, but then behind the
mhm,
scenes it's like maybe not as
It's
secure
like
or
leaking
mhm.
everyone's data or just completely, open to hacking and all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Totally, I could see
Well,
that.
I mean, the interesting thing is, you know, it's like most things that are getting shared are all open source. I mean, very much the stuff that's um, not less and less. There's products that are off the shelf. Now, obviously, if someone builds a web application, you can't see anything that's happening behind the scenes. But anything else that someone installs or whatever, I mean, even even the tools to be able to look and say, hey, does this code have anything malicious in it? I think is also getting better. I think that I think what concerns me more about AI is, you know, when you start looking at if you start looking at the philosophy of security, right? So if you think about security, every single now, I mean, I have to test this theory. I have to think if there's a situation that this isn't true, but I believe every single form of personal security um, is surrounded by being able to identify something unique. Whether that's a unique key, or even in software, you've got certificates, whether you've got username and password, something involved in that whole scenario that's unique. Even when you get, you know, now where they've got two-factor authentication, where you get something on your phone, the reality is that still, you know, you getting into a site, there's a unique um, key that's being generated that you're finally using.
Yeah.
And the thing is that what makes those secure is that it would take you a long time to figure out what how to make that exact key. Um, you know, and so really the way that security has gotten better on all of those things is let's make it more complex, let's make it harder.
Mm,
Um, and in fact, even when cloud computing came out, where it's like, oh, now they can use all these computers to brute force something and figure something out, they go, well, we need to make the key bigger, so it would take longer for something to figure it out, right? And so with AI, it starts making that gap a lot smaller.
yeah.
Um, And so that's honestly my biggest concern is just how much quicker it will be for people to bridge that gap to, I feel like this is, encryption or whatever it is, and be able to say, yeah, but I can throw this at it and it can figure this out in minutes now.
Right.
Um,
Like you won't have passwords that are long enough, right? You won't have unique things that can't be broken instantly. So then if everyone's data and everyone's everything is just open to whoever has the best AI to get in there and get it, it's like
right.
you have to have like just a higher level of surveillance of everyone almost at that point. You have to say like, okay, if everyone can do that, we either have to say that here's the bad actors in that area,
Hmm.
or you could say, okay, or we have to use AI, or we have to do something, or blockchain or something like that to help make the encryption better, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
I guess it's always
Yeah.
a race.
And the other problem with that too is that every time the encryption gets more complex, it also causes a lot of performance issues, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where it's
Yeah.
like,
Sure.
if I'm sending something that's very encrypted, for something even to accurately decrypt it, it takes a lot of work for it to do that, even if I've got the right keys and all that kind of stuff. And so it kind of just affects everything. I mean, even when, it's like, everyone has to have a virus scanner on their computer and it slows it down,
Yeah.
right? It's like I hate the fact that I have to have something that's constantly checking and being updated to
Yeah.
say something bad's not happening. And it's like, so yeah, something bad could still happen, but at least I'm have a slow computer now.
Great. Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, yeah, so I don't know, the thing is like, it's I was watching a video on just AI stuff, and one of the things that someone said that I thought was really interesting is that, where AI is going, I mean, there's an infinite amount of possibilities for good and 10 times that for bad.
Right.
And I was like, oh man, that's crazy. Crazy to think about. Like, um, so yeah, I don't know. There's
Especially
a
because
fun note to leave there.
yeah, right, exactly. I mean, well, and like you said, it's moving so fast. It's not like this is a thing where, oh, we're talking about generations in the future. Like,
Right.
I mean, this will be in the times when we are still active working adults,
Right.
right? Or when
Well,
our kids are going into into college
yeah.
and trying to figure this out.
Yep. And here's the interesting thing too, is like, it actually is one of the reasons why I really like doing the theater stuff on the side, because I mean, you guys, were talking about like Sora and that sort of thing, and here's the funny thing is, like, I remember, just as kind of an example of how easy it is to get spoiled, like the Matrix. When
Right.
first seeing the Matrix, it's like jaw dropping, like, oh man, like I'm so excited about everything I'm seeing visually, right? I still love the Matrix, but it hits different now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I look at it and I'm not. It's like, okay, yeah, that's fun, that's cool, but I'm not as impressed, right?
Yeah.
Like my palette just keeps getting. I mean, I don't know what you'd call it, getting worse. But
More
and
cynical, maybe.
well, yeah, cynical too, for sure. Um, but what's but like going on like Facebook and looking at reels, and you see something funny or cute, and you're like, I don't know if that's real,
Yeah.
Yeah.
right? Like,
Yeah.
that's. And so what's going to happen is I think there's going to be this big counterculture of people saying, I don't even want to watch digital stuff anymore. You're going to watch a movie and special effects are going to be like boring.
Right.
This is like, I can do that on my phone right now and see the same thing,
Exactly.
right?
It won't be as
Which
impressive.
is right. But live theater I think it's gonna make a huge comeback, because people are gonna. It's like there's gonna be something about hearing someone sing live,
Yep.
seeing all this creativity that people have done, and I think that that's gonna be it's gonna be interesting to see how that plays out.
Like, and even being next to people in an audience, right? You had to go to a place and you have to be there with everyone and you see everyone. There's like that they're probably from your area. And so you're
Right.
seeing that and you're like building that camaraderie and community
Yes.
together
Yep.
all at the same time. I feel like the more and more we get away from that, the more and more people are going to be craving that in their lives.
Yeah.
And whatever
Well, and
that
it may be
takes.
it may be prescriptive at some point too, right?
Right.
Where it's like, people will be going to their counselor and they're going to be like, hey, here's some things you need to start doing instead of sitting at home
Yeah.
on Facebook and watching TV all the time, which is probably what needs to be happening right now
Yeah,
anyway, right?
exactly.
Right.
Like go clean up the, all the trash down at the river. They're having a
Right.
cleanup this weekend, go
Yes.
down there.
Go touch some
Yep.
grass. Well, I think we talked about this a lot on the show. This idea, this counterculture, and the people that are shedding some of this for this analog kind of lifestyle and taking the tech out of their homes and things. And as I start to think about where we're headed, it's a democratization as well of like doing this amazing kind of creation. And it used to be unique and novel because you're like, I couldn't do that, and so you were impressed and you only saw it in little pieces. But I'm with you. It's like it feels like it's all been watered down and we've all raised our levels up a bit. Yeah. I think what I worry about is sometimes the commodification or the capitalist kind of way of thinking. It's not about the content anymore. It's about the dopamine hit and like doing the swipe up and just getting enough like content out there. It really doesn't matter what the content is. And I feel like that's what's hurting society a lot, because now it's so easy to just create something that's not only like interesting, but customized to this person based off their behaviors. And so it's going to be really hard to break. I think a Wall-E where everyone's sitting in their little things and they're looking at it because they get exactly everything they need and they're fine. And so how do we counter that? I don't know. And I think what you're talking about with theater is a great start to that and a great piece of that.
Well, and the thing is too, is I think that as humans, like, I don't believe that we are designed to be satisfied in that realm of things. And I think that even though I think it's similar to eating, if you ate desserts for every meal or whatever, that it's like, this tastes good, but my body's telling me this is not good. Right.
I'm craving a salad.
There are things that will happen that are not good that you could then go, why is this happening? Right. And I think as society agrees more on what these things will cause, I think more people, well, this is more of a hope, right? I can't predict the future. I'm hoping that more people will recognize the result of having those kind of lifestyles. I mean, but we still have, fast food is still huge, right? And it's like processed foods and all that kind of stuff is still, and I believe in moderation as well. But you can start associating the effects of those things, and so hopefully people will start doing that more. But that's honestly like where I think those of us who kind of see all that too, it's like we really need to be pouring into people's lives. We need to be talking to the retired person next door who just sits at home and watches TV all the time, and you know what I mean, that doesn't have any interaction. I think that's how we can be and show them the contrast, have them excited about having that human interaction.
It's almost like a wellness thing. It's like a wellness check that you're not just, yes, you're getting food and yes, you are getting water, but you're also getting community and you're bringing that all together. I do think you see younger, we did some research on sort of this topic a couple of weeks ago, and we see that like there are younger generation that is doing more of that, right? They're going more, they see that, they see their parents, they see their grandparents falling into that, and they go like, hey, I'm just going to have a flip phone, right? Or I'm going to do a self-imposed Sabbath, on Saturday of that kind of stuff. And so that's the part that I love, that I see and I go, amazing. Maybe this new generation is going to do that. The only hard part on the other side is they're the ones who are going to grow up with that being the norm. Like that wasn't the norm for us for a really long time. And so we could sort of push back against it and be like, that doesn't seem right. Like I don't want to just watch AI TikTok videos all day, like I want to see some real things. I don't want to do that because that's what we grew up with. Whereas if you didn't, and you're like, all you're used to is a phone in your pocket all the time with AI slop, and it's sort of entertaining. Maybe it's harder to break away from that. Like you really, that just becomes the norm that you're used to. So it's sort of like you're balancing those two ideas. And I'm hoping that the youthful side that rebels against what their parents are doing, like wins out, and they're more analog than even we are.
Sure. Yeah. Well, and the reality too is every generation has a lot of stuff that they need to work on, and it's like, it's amazing how different things were just when we were kids, and just how it's like even some of the things that, it's like you would say or do, and you look at it now, you're like, man, was that really normal to say
Yeah.
that? To
Right.
use that terminology, like, oh my gosh,
There was a
and
smoking section in the Wendy's where I went to college.
right,
Like they had a smoking
yeah,
section and a normal section inside the same tiny Wendy's. And I go, oh my
right.
God, nothing like that would ever happen anymore.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, going into a restaurant and having the waiter say, smoking or non-smoking,
Right.
people now would be like, "What?
What?
That's so weird." So I think it's okay. Like, I think it's okay to normalize. Actually, I would say I think it's a good thing when we have generations realizing something else needs to improve, and I think that should be.
Yeah.
I think that should be normal, and I think it's like when I look at like my parents or older generations, it's like the things that they say, like, oh man, like here's what I'm worried about for you guys, and it's like, yeah, I think that's okay, but here's what I'm worried about for the next generation, and
Yep.
um,
I guess
I don't know.
everybody
Like I
has
said,
that.
I hope there's some level of people realizing that there's something more than kind of what the world is trying to formulate around them.
Ah, that's so good. I feel like so true. Well, we're coming to the end of the time. Like for us, thank you for. Is there like maybe do you want to pitch something? Is there like the Clemson Theater thing coming up or?
I mean, I would just say, okay, well, let's just continue what we were just talking about.
Yeah.
I would just say, I mean, anyone listening, like, try to get involved in something beyond your living room.
Yeah.
Something, whether it's, I mean, something as simple as your HOA in your neighborhood
Right.
to a community theater, something that's community driven. And I think that you're going to meet some amazing people with amazing hearts, and I think it's going to impact you in a way that you will not be able to be impacted in any other way. So that's my pitch for everyone.
Nice. An amazing pitch.
I absolutely love that.
That's great. Like I started a softball league this year and I was
Yeah.
like, great. That's people and they're hanging out and we're, having a beer in the parking lot and I'm talking to real people. It's like
Yes.
it fills your cup.
Yes,
Uh,
absolutely.
And amazing job with all of the 3D printing. I'm
Hey, thanks.
please
It's fun.
please definitely keep posting things and doing
Sure,
stuff.
yeah.
We also have a Discord channel which people post creative things all the time. We're gonna be talking about Inktober. We're doing drawings and stuff like that in a little bit
Cool.
with one of our friends. But Mike, it was amazing. Thank you for coming on and
Yeah,
showing
it
off
was
all
fun
this
talking with you
amazing
guys.
stuff. Like, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's been great to meet you, Mike, and
And obviously the amazing donation that you gave,
Oh,
which
yeah, that's my pleasure.
which is funny because we crossed over the $1,200 mark as we were talking. Somebody put it so we got two
Yes.
we got two Plinko things to come up right after this.
All right.
And we'll see where that goes. Heather Hackensack gave $34. I appreciate that. Okay, thank you. We got
Yeah, thank you.
how many more hours of this, Adam? 13 more hours and we're ready to
Right.
go.
Well, good luck, guys.
yeah, we really
Take
appreciate
care.
you coming on the show, and thanks so much. I look forward to
you.
seeing some more of this 3D
Yeah.
printing stuff. So maybe in the
Yeah.
future we could have you on the show again.
I know,
for
just
a-
come on
You know what?
again.
I would love to be on your guys' show and talk about all sorts of stuff. So it's fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
So-
we look forward to that. We'll maybe do
All
that
right.
coming up soon. All right,
Right.
awesome.
We
Okay,
appreciate you, Mike. Thank you so
thanks.
much. You have a
Bye,
good day.
Mike.
Bye.
So good. Amazing.
That was awesome, Ryan. I really appreciate you being able to bring Mike on the show, and
Yeah.
I could have gone for probably
Oh,
another
I know,
hour on
exactly.
that.